The Thing is one of Hollywood's most iconic horror films, yet it was a complete failure upon release. Like many cult classics, it took time to gain its due recognition. According to director John Carpenter, the failure of his films always upset him, but the reception of The Thing was particularly devastating. Both critics and audiences coldly dismissed the film when it debuted, which hit him hard. It wasn't until a few years later that the movie emerged from obscurity and quickly became an influential cult classic, much to Carpenter's relief. Today, let's reflect on the time when The Thing was ignored by audiences in theaters despite its ambition. The new film, based on John W. Campbell's novella Who Goes There, faced a long and bumpy road to production. Initially, the project caught the interest of Poltergeist director Tobe Hooper, but ongoing dissatisfaction from the studio stalled the script's development. After hitting repeated dead ends, Hooper left the project. Carpenter eventually took the helm with several box office hits under his belt. And these weren't just modest successes, they were major triumphs. His Halloween earned $60 million on a $300,000 budget. The Fog brought in $21 million on a $1.1 million budget, and Escape from New York grossed nearly $40 million on a $6 million budget. Carpenter was a rising star, and his films were considered guaranteed hits. That's why Universal Pictures, hoping to ride the wave of Alien success, decided to back The Thing as a film about hostile aliens. Carpenter was given a $15 million budget, his first studio-backed production. Until then, all his films had been financed by independent investors. At the time, The Thing had one of the largest budgets in horror history. For comparison, Alien had a budget of $11 million, Jaws cost $7 million, and films like Friday the 13th were made for as little as $700,000. The Thing was expected to be a blockbuster, dominating the box office while capitalizing on the public's interest in extraterrestrial threats. Kurt Russell, not yet labeled a box office bomb, wasn't the studio's first choice for the lead role. With plans for a major film, Universal sought a big-name star. However, this posed challenges. Many reputable actors declined the role, assuming the film would be an expensive yet predictable copy of Alien. For example, Nick Nolte, the first actor approached, turned it down to star in the action film 48 Hours. The decision paid off, as 48 Hours became a massive hit and launched Eddie Murphy's film career. Jeff Bridges also declined the role, opting instead to work on Disney's Tron. Although Tron wasn't a runaway success, its failure was far less dramatic. Universal then approached even bigger stars, including Harrison Ford and Clint Eastwood, but neither found the script compelling. In the end, the role went to Kurt Russell, whom Carpenter had always envisioned for the part. Filming took nearly 6 months, partially on a glacier in British Columbia, Canada. Even in studio settings, the conditions were so harsh that crew members were constantly falling ill. As one group recovered, another would get sick. The actors' expressions in the film reflect the physical challenges they endured. Special effects designer Rob Bottin worked so tirelessly during the shoot that he was hospitalized for exhaustion by the end of production. By March 1982, Carpenter delivered the rough cut to the studio, which was quickly sent for test screenings. Several rounds of feedback led to changes, resulting in multiple versions of the film. These differences are mostly in editing, rather than added or removed scenes. For instance, a cable TV version introduces each character at the start of the film. In addition, Carpenter disliked and omitted from his preferred cut. Carpenter attended all the test screenings, asking audiences what they would change. Most viewers were frustrated by the ambiguous ending, which left it unclear whether the alien had been defeated. Despite this, Carpenter insisted on keeping the ending as is, believing viewers should draw their own conclusions. Fans of the film still debate its ending, with every theory facing contradictions. An unexpected issue arose with the opening credits. Universal opted against using its standard Earth-based logo, fearing audiences might find it confusing to see the planet twice at the beginning. They even considered an option where an alien ship would fly through the Universal logo and then enter Earth's atmosphere. However, this idea was deemed too expensive at the time, and the studio worried it might come across as unintentionally comical, Ultimately, no one dared to open a science fiction horror film with a comedic touch. The Thing was released in June 1982, and its debut was a disaster. Despite its $15 million budget, the film opened in 8th place and grossed only $3 million during its first weekend. By the end of its run, it earned just $19 million at the U.S. box office. The studio made significant efforts to attract audiences, including prominently featuring the word alien on posters, but nothing worked. The film continued to flounder. The international box office results weren't much better. For instance, while Escape from New York drew nearly 3 million viewers in Germany, The Thing attracted less than 1 million. International earnings are often overlooked in discussions of the film's performance, but available data suggests it added an extra $5 to $7 million from European markets to its U.S. total. Many blame The Thing's failure on Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which dominated the box office in 1982 with a $360 million domestic gross and over $700 million worldwide. Much like Avatar decades later, E.T. captivated audiences with its heartwarming tale of a friendly alien, leaving little appetite for a horror film about a monstrous extraterrestrial. It wasn't just The Thing that struggled. Released on the same day, Blade Runner also flopped, earning slightly more than The Thing, but with a budget twice as large. The failure of both films demonstrates that their struggles weren't merely due to E.T.'s success. Critics and audiences alike panned both movies upon release, describing them as dull, uninspired efforts from seemingly talentless directors. While Blade Runner escaped a Golden Raspberry nomination, The Thing wasn't so lucky. Ennio Morricone's atmospheric score, likened by some to the sound of a plucked guitar string, earned a nomination for Worst Musical Score. This dubious recognition says more about the Razzies than it does about Morricone's work. Some wonder why the studio didn't release The Thing at a different time. While this was theoretically possible, there's no guarantee it would have fared any better. For example, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, released around the same time as E.T., performed well at the box office, as did the horror film Poltergeist. Both films had smaller budgets than The Thing. Another case in point is An Officer and a Gentleman, starring Richard Gere, which also opened with $3 million in its first weekend. However, unlike The Thing, Gere's film gained momentum and went on to gross $130 million domestically. In contrast, The Thing collapsed in its second week. Director John Carpenter considers The Thing his best work, while Kurt Russell ranks it as his second favorite, just behind Escape from New York. The film's failure had lasting repercussions for their careers. Russell didn't shed his box office bomb label until the late 1980s. Carpenter hit even harder, has often said that if The Thing had succeeded, his career would have taken a very different trajectory. Carpenter also blamed the studio for the film's failure, particularly the poster design. Created in a single day by a studio artist without any reference materials from the film, the poster featured a generic design that Carpenter thought resembled a slasher movie. He even suggested adding a bloody knife to the figure's hand, believing the poster already gave that impression, but the studio refused to make changes. Years later, The Thing gained recognition as a masterpiece and frequently tops horror movie lists. Universal Pictures eventually considered a sequel, but various obstacles, scripts, budgets, and shifting priorities kept delaying it. In 2011, they released a prequel instead. Despite its $38 million budget, it grossed only $31 million, reinforcing the studio's long-held doubts about revisiting The Thing. A similar fate befell Blade Runner, whose long-delayed sequel, Blade Runner 2049, also struggled financially despite critical acclaim. By now, The Thing has likely recouped its costs and generated significant profits through various home media releases, which reflect its enduring popularity. Unfortunately, the delayed recognition came too late to benefit the careers of those who made it. While The Thing is now celebrated, its initial failure had lasting consequences for its creators. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned.